Um, Picture this. It's October 1942.
Correct.
In this really quiet, just unassuming house in Providence, Rhode Island, a woman is handed this beautiful tray bouquet of flowers.
Which, I mean, sounds completely normal.
Totally normal. Except hidden inside that bouquet, just nestled right there among the petals, is a live miniature goat.
A literal goat.
A literal live goat. And, outside that house, the world is just tearing itself apart. We're talking the darkest, most terrifying days of World War II.
Yeah, the contrast there is just wild.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are cracking open a highly specific, honestly just utterly fascinating slice of history found within the pages of a magazine called The Linking Ring.
Right, covering like 1941 to 1943.
Exactly. And our mission today is to focus squarely on a group known as Ring 44.
Yeah, so Ring 44, that was the local Providence chapter of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. And looking at their monthly meeting notes, which is what we're doing today, it offers us this remarkable microcosm. I mean, while the entire globe was fracturing under the weight of global conflict, the members of Ring 44 were gathering to, perform escapes, swap arcane mechanical secrets.
And build an incredibly tight-knit community.
Exact.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand how they kept wonder alive on the home front, we really have to look at where this magic actually happened.
Yeah, the venue is crucial.
It is. Because they didn't just, rent out a drab rec center or a church basement once a month. They met at a place they called Baker's Miniature Theater, which was located at 24 Observatory Avenue.
Right, which was actually owned by two of their members, Bill and Mrs. Baker.
Yeah, and this wasn't just a living room with the couches pushed against the walls.
No, not at all. The Bakers had actually constructed a dedicated, highly specialized theatrical space right inside their home.
Like a real theater.
Yes. They installed a raised stage, real working footlights, heavy velvet curtains. And crucially, and I love this detail, it had an adjoining kitchen fully capable of serving a traditional Rhode Island shore dinner to the entire club.
So you had a literal palace of illusion that routinely smelled like clam chowder.
A perfect combination, honestly.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And the people stepping onto that footlit stage, they were absolute heavyweights in their respective disciplines.
Oh, without a doubt.
Take their leadership in 1941 and 1942. The president of Ring 44 was a man named William Wallace.
Right.
And when he stepped down, the club presented him with his custom magic wand engraved with an entwining serpent.
But Wallace wasn't just up there doing, simple card tricks.
Far from it.
He was a memory expert, to the point where he was cited in Ripley's Believe It or Not cartoons, and he was even featured on a national radio broadcast called Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, and his signature feat on that broadcast was just staggering.
It's unbelievable.
He demonstrated his ability to memorize an entire 1,100-page national mail-order catalog, 1,100 pages.
Yes, and he could recall every item, every price, every page number on command.
Which, to anyone listening, that sounds impossible until you understand the mechanics of how memory experts actually pull that off.
Right.
Wallace was almost certainly using something called the method of loci, or a memory palace.
Yes, exactly.
Because he wasn't relying on rote memorization. He was creating this massive mental blueprint, maybe based on his own house or the streets of Providence, and placing vivid, absurd mental images of those catalog items along a specific walking path in his mind.
It's basically spatial memory hacking.
Yeah.
If you ask an amateur to memorize a list of numbers, they just repeat them over and over. A master like Wallace turns those numbers into a visual story.
Right, like making a visual.
So say page 402 is an iron for $3, right?
Rick.
He might picture a giant glowing red iron burning a hole in his front door with $3 bills pinned underneath it.
Oh, wow.
So when asked what's on page 402, he doesn't struggle to remember numbers. He just mentally walks up to his front door and looks at what's there.
That is so cool. It's like turning your brain into a heavily indexed digital filing cabinet, but, using bizarre architecture instead of folders.
Perfectly said.
And he wasn't the only savant in the room. Following him as president for 1942 and 1943 was Henry M. Ehrlich.
Ah, yeah, Ehrlich.
Yeah, and Ehrlich was recognized as one of the premier safe and lock experts in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
He actually collaborated frequently with the late Harry Houdini on lockpicking mechanics and escape artistry.
Which, honestly, that collaboration makes perfect sense when you look at the mechanics of escape magic.
Because it's not really magic.
Right. Escaping a padlock isn't about magic, it's about mechanical exploitation.
Okay, break that down for us.
So a standard pin tumbler lock works because tiny spring-loaded pins inside the cylinder block it from turning. The correct key pushes all those pins up to a specific height called the shear line, allowing the lock to turn.
So a guy like Ehrlich would use, what, like a tension wrench to apply slight turning pressure to the lock.
Exactly.
And then use a pick to individually push those pins up until they catch on that shear line.
Exactly the technique. But Houdini needed experts like Ehrlich for something even more specialized. Designing gaffed locks.
Gaff locks, like rigged locks.
Yeah, rigged locks. Locks that looked perfectly normal to a police officer who was, say, locking Houdini into a box, but had internal mechanisms that could be bypassed with a hidden piece of wire or even a strong tap at a specific angle to bump the pins.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Ehrlich understood the physics of security better than the people building the safes.
Okay, so you have these absolute masters of mental conditioning and mechanical engineering just hanging out at the baker's house.
Basically, yeah.
It makes me wonder about the psychological effect of having that physical space, you know? Like, a dedicated stage with footlights changes the dynamic.
It totally does.
It demands a higher level of practice. You aren't just messing around in a basement anymore. You are a performer in a real theater.
Well, it legitimized their art completely.
Right.
And because it was such a respected, legitimate venue, it attracted what you might call magical royalty.
Oh, really? Like who?
Well, the records in the Linking Ring show visits from people like Uncle John Davidson, who was a past president of the entire International Brotherhood of Magicians.
Oh, wow. So the big boss.
Yeah. He would drop into Baker's Theater to hold court, telling the local members about his trips out west, meeting people like Orson Welles, Edgar Bergen, and the famous illusionist Dante.
That's incredible.
The physical space allowed them to seamlessly blend high-level professional networking with deeply rooted local camaraderie.
But, you know, having that secure elite sanctuary meant the threat of losing it was even more devastating.
Right.
And you actually see that play out in the pages of the magazine. You can trace the exact moments when the realities of World War II begin to fracture their safe haven.
Yeah, it starts creeping in.
By March 1942, the club notes state that plans for a regular show have suddenly become indefinite.
Because the draft was pulling their members away.
Right. The reality of global survival had to take precedence over the theater. They instituted a new policy to unburden any members engaged in active defense and war duties by entirely suspending their financial dues.
Which leads to a wildly poignant detail. A member named Harry Ballan stepped up with an incredibly generous offer.
Yeah, the silver rings.
Yes. He provided a silver finger ring to every single member of Ring 44 who joined the military service.
Which is a beautiful gesture.
It is, but there's a massive logistical hurdle. Strict military regulations dictated what jewelry soldiers could wear in uniform, meaning these rings couldn't bear any outward magical insignia. They couldn't look like secret society rings.
Right. They had to look like standard plain bands sold to boys in the service, nothing that would draw a commanding officer's attention.
Exactly. So Harry Ballan engineered a workaround. He took all the magical details, the date, the member's name, the specific insignia of Ring 44, and had them secretly engraved on the inside of the silver band.
Oh, that gives me chills. Right. It was a hidden connection to their sanctuary, pressed directly against the skin of these soldiers. And we know this touched the club deeply because Mrs. Baker, the woman hosting them all in her theater, her own son, Bob, had just left for the service.
Think about that. You are sending these young men across the world into terrifying, chaotic situations and arming them with a secret talisman of wonder. It's a physical reminder that their community is waiting for them.
Okay, but wait, I have to challenge this whole concept, though.
Okay, go for it.
We are talking about grown adults gathering to do parlor tricks and card manipulations, while U-boats are literally sinking ships off the coast and millions of people are fighting a global slaughter.
Right.
That sounds completely out of touch, doesn't it? Kind of feels like they were just hiding their heads in the sand.
I do why you'd say that. It's really easy to look at it as frivolous escapism from a modern perspective, but the historical record proves otherwise. They actively mobilized their highly specific talents for the war effort. They didn't just hide. They packed up their props and took shows on the road to places like the Wallam Lake Sanatorium to perform for the patients there, providing crucial psychological relief.
Oh, I see.
They also hosted military guests like Corporal Tommy Rigby, who was a physical instructor with the RAF stationed in Canada, and he actually came down to perform as a guest star.
And they were, in a way, weaponizing the magic itself to boost morale.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, magic is about controlling the narrative of the impossible.
Okay, I like that.
During a war, the impossible usually means sudden destruction. But they flipped that narrative. There's a specific performance recorded in their notes where a member executed the red ashes routine.
Oh, I read about that. The performer takes a strip of paper, burns it completely to ash, and lets the ashes float into the air.
Yes.
He then reaches into the destroyed, burned remnants and suddenly produces 3 15-foot-long ribbons, red, white, and blue. And from the midst of those ribbons, a beautiful, large, silk American flag appears.
Think about the psychological weight of that imagery for an audience in 1942. Out of literal ashes and destruction, the flag emerges.
It's powerful. But mechanically, that has to be a thumb tip, right?
Oh, almost certainly.
For those who don't know, a thumb tip is...
Well, it's a hollow, usually flesh-colored plastic or metal shell worn over the performer's actual thumb.
Right.
And inside that tiny space, you can tightly compress yards of incredibly thin silk.
Oh, okay.
So when the performer reaches into the ashes, they secretly ditch the tip into their closed fist, pull the silk ribbons out, and the misdirection of the expanding flag allows them to slip the empty tip back onto their thumb entirely unnoticed.
Wow. So they were using the mechanics of deception, literally a plastic thumb, to manufacture hope. They were providing a visual narrative of survival and triumph when the news on the radio was offering nothing but despair.
Exactly. The intense wartime anxiety outside the theater fueled a desperate need for extreme escapism inside it.
Yeah.
That safe haven forged a culture that was incredibly intimate, occasionally very bizarre, and intensely joyful.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
You read through the specific tricks they were performing for each other, and it honestly borders on the surreal. You have Bill Satchel getting up and doing an X-ray arm amputation.
Right.
Which is a wild concept for a living room theater in Providence.
It's aggressive for a living room. But stage amputations are basically classic illusions of perspective.
How does that work?
Usually, the performer uses a mirror box. The assistant places their arm inside a box, and blades are shoved through it. But the box contains strategically angled mirrors that reflect the sides of the box, making it look empty to the audience, while the real arm is safely tucked in a blind spot behind the mirror.
That is so clever. And then you have Everett Ingram getting up with his assistant, Madam Murney, to do a giant 4-ace routine.
A giant 4-ace routine.
Yeah, which is a nightmare mechanically because card manipulation relies entirely on palming hiding the cards in the natural curve of your hand.
Right.
You can't palm a giant novelty card. You have to rely entirely on specially printed gaffs, double-sided cards, and heavy body misdirection to pull off the sleights.
Yeah, it requires an entirely different physical skill set than standard close-up magic.
Exactly. And, oh, let's not forget Don Rogers, who had a ventriloquist dummy that could supposedly yodel better than Charlie McCarthy. Naturally. But intertwined with all of this bizarre technical trickery is this deep, grounding sense of domestic comfort, specifically centered around food.
Food was huge for them.
Huge. They opened the new year with a January bean supper for 35 members and their wives. You have members Bob and Doris Burgeon doing an illusion when they magically produce a large table covered entirely with edibles out of thin air.
Which is amazing. And producing a fully set table usually relies on the black art principle.
The black art principle.
Yeah. The stage is draped in black velvet. The table, also covered in black velvet, is already on stage, rendering it completely invisible to the audience.
Of course.
The magician simply whips away the black cover, revealing the brightly colored food underneath. It looks like it materializes from nothing.
It's the most practical application of black art I've ever heard of.
Oh, producing actual dinner.
And then there's the magical production of a frosted cake baked by a Mrs. Stubbs to celebrate President Henry Ehrlich's 20th wedding anniversary. But that cozy domesticity collides head-on with absurdity in October 1942.
Here we go. The initiation of Doris Burgeon.
Yes, the goat. Doris is officially initiated into the ring as a lady member. The club presents her with a beautiful tray bouquet of flowers, but hidden inside the bouquet is a live miniature goat.
It's so funny.
Just the sheer logistics of keeping a goat quiet inside a bundle of flowers in a home theater in Rhode Island is staggering to me.
It's the ultimate misdirection. You expect a polite applause for a floral arrangement, and you get livestock.
You get a goat. But look at that duality. On one hand, you have wives baking anniversary cakes and serving January bean suppers. On the other, you have X-ray amputations, giant playing cards, and miniature goats hidden in flowers. What does that specific blend tell us about the psychology of this group?
Honestly, it shows us exactly how they maintained their sanity.
Yeah.
The domestic elements, the spouses attending, the shared meals, celebrating 20th wedding anniversaries provided a bedrock of normalcy. It grounded them. It made them a family rather than just a hobbyist club.
The clam chowder keeps you anchored to reality.
Exactly. But the bizarre magical elements allowed them a space for playful subversion.
Oh, that makes sense.
The outside world during World War II was rigidly controlled. You had ration books dictating what you could eat, blackout curtains dictating when you could have light, and military drafts dictating where you would live and die.
Yeah, a world of strict, terrifying rules.
Right. But inside Baker's theater, they could break the rules of physics just for fun. It shows a community that took its craft incredibly seriously, but absolutely refused to take themselves too seriously.
The absurdity was the necessary antidote to the anxiety.
Yeah?
They needed the goat just as much as they needed those silver rings.
They couldn't survive the war without both.
So tracing the journey of Ring 44 through these few years gives us a remarkable timeline of resilience.
It really does.
We've stepped inside the specialized footlit haven of Baker's Miniature Theater, where memory savants and lock-picking masters held court.
Yeah.
We've seen the deeply poignant solidarity of Harry Ballin passing out those secret silver rings with the club's insignia hidden against the skin of soldiers. And we've witnessed the quirky, defiant joy of magical cakes and miniature goats.
It's a testament to the power of a dedicated sanctuary.
It is. And for you listening, I think this serves as a powerful blueprint. We live in an era of intense digital isolation, where it's incredibly easy to just be passively entertained by a screen while sitting alone in a room. But the physical, dedicated camaraderie of Ring 44 people actually gathering in a room, eating bean suppers, and putting on elaborate shows for each other. It shows us that shared passions and physical community are what actually sustain us through difficult, chaotic eras.
This raises an important question, though, about the very nature of what they were doing in that room.
Okay, what's that?
Magic, by its definition, is about hiding the truth. It's about utilizing deception mirrors, hollow plastic thumbs, hidden compartments to create a sense of wonder.
Right.
But when you look at Ring 44 during the height of World War II, you have to ask, was the act of gathering together to perform these deceptions actually the most honest, authentic thing these people did all week?
Wow. I mean, the world outside Baker's Theater was chaotic, unpredictable, and violent. You had no control over the draft or the rationing.
But inside that theater, if you performed the sleight correctly, the coin always vanished. If you applied the right tension to the shear line, the lock always opened. Did the carefully constructed illusions inside that theater actually provide a truer, more reliable sense of control and safety than the terrifying reality of the world outside? When the real world is broken, maybe the illusion of control is the only way to survive it.